You boldly step into the necropolis, ready to face its horrors. Will you survive all the way to the end?
It's no secret that VR and tabletop-style RPGs make a natural pairing. But what happens when you port a made-for-VR, tabletop RPG-inspired dungeon crawler, like Resolution Games' fabulous Demeo, to the PC, where competition like Divinity Original Sin 2 and Wasteland 3 already awaits? Good news! Demeo does something totally different from any of those, condensing its excellent card-based tactical combat into short skirmishes rather than full-length campaigns, with no leveling or grinding in between. That's right, you and your friends can most likely jump into and play an entire Demeo campaign in under 3 hours from start to finish. And cross-play support means that no matter who's playing on PC or in VR, you can always play together. If you aren't already familiar with Demeo, it's a turn-based, tile-based tactical adventure game that centers around animated miniatures on a simulated tabletop board, kinda like D&D. It features monsters, traps, and a randomly generated environment, doors, corners, and all, that you and up to 3 other players, or just yourself, will need to make the most tactical use out of in order to survive. This works much like in any great D&D campaign, but Demeo makes all of it so much more simple and easy to pick up and play. And conversely, the biggest difference here in comparison to computer role-playing games like the aforementioned Divinity Original Sin 2 is that Demeo is more like a shot of D&D flavored caffeine rather than a full-blown role-playing game that you'd otherwise need to commit any serious amount of time to. For instance, you won't level up a character or engage in a storyline, but you can always pick it up and crawl through a dungeon by yourself or with pals. Between matches, you earn cosmetic rewards and upgrade your card deck, meaning that a wider variety of abilities can become available to you while you play. So there's always a reason to keep playing, but you won't ever get left behind for missing a few sessions. Instead of creating a character from scratch, you simply choose from a list of 5 classes, which may sound oversimplified at first, but it keeps things moving right into the action in a way that CRPGs generally don't. I chose the ranger-like hunter, who has the power to fire poisonous arrows and even summon an animal companion, which came especially in handy when I needed to distract this giant slime monster from cornering the party's magic user. It's neat that every character gets exactly 2 action points per turn, and you can spend those on moving around the map or using attacks. Conveniently though, healing potions cost 0 action points to use, provided you have any in your deck, meaning that you can quickly recover from critical blows without losing your mobility or your ability to fight back in the same turn. Regardless, your abilities are tied to a card system, and the ones you actually get in your deck of 5 total at once are completely randomized. It's cool that after earning 100 points, which happens gradually by killing enemies, a randomly chosen new card is added to your deck. This keeps the pacing steady as you move through each room, and it's also neat that you can find treasure chests, which offer the opportunity to draw a random card immediately. But at the end of the day, Demeo's minimalistic layout keeps things simple, fun, and socially engaging. Demeo, by definition, is all about controlling pieces on a board, so you can just as easily get the authentic tabletop experience by playing it on VR, or get a more traditional CRPG experience by playing it on PC. In both cases, the interface is clear and concise. The controls are responsive, and on the PC version specifically, the isometric camera feels smooth to move around with your right mouse button and WASD keys. Now, is that WASD or WASD? Regardless, it's a nice touch that miniatures appear clearly outlined in red or green based on whether they're a friend or foe, if a physical object is obscuring your view of them, which is a small thing that goes a long way in making an otherwise messy tabletop way more readable on a flat screen, and which makes more sense in a PC port built around the keyboard and mouse setup than it would in a VR game where you could just stand over the board and clearly see each miniature at all angles anyway. But otherwise, if you know what it's like to play a modern CRPG, you'll feel right at home in Demeo. I am definitely excited to take a closer look at this PC port when it officially releases on April 7th. For more on the latest RPGs, check out the reveal trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And for everything else in the world of video games, stick with IGN.